Hey guys, welcome to the show. For this episode of Himprovement, we have on another special guest. His name is Jake Craig, and he's a personal development author and a live streamer. Welcome to the show, Jacob.
Hey, thank you, Kamani. It's awesome to be here. Love what you're doing with Himprovement. So really glad to be on and looking forward to our discussion today. So
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and I'm really looking forward to what we're going to talk about today. And so,
absolutely.
for those that aren't familiar with your work, could you tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. As you said, I'm an author in the self development or self improvement space, and what I try to do, or what I do, is really help others to achieve goals that they never thought were possible. So whether their goals are in health and fitness, or they want to get motivated and just want to get started moving in the right direction and find success for them, whatever success means to them, whether that's success in their relationships, success in their career, or their health and fitness, really all areas of life. And but this first book is all focused on health and fitness. I reached a point where I was at a weight that I was uncomfortable for myself, so I decided to take an approach and research several experts in the field of health and fitness. And so this book covers 6 different individuals, from nutritionists to physical therapists to strength and conditioning coaches, and talks about their approaches and all the tips and tricks from studying them for months at a time. So it really condenses everything into one book, so you can really try and find a diet and exercise plan that works for you, and also take tips and tricks along the way that help with sleep or eating habits or things like that. And it's not really like you should follow all 6 people, but give you
Right.
some direction, because they all, you can't follow all 6. They all kind of contradict each other. And it's, if your lifestyle suits more of uh, a plant-based diet, or a keto style diet, or
Mm-hmm.
a muscle building sort of diet, is typically a blend. You want to eat healthy, but at the same time you want to make sure you're getting enough calories and carbohydrates, so you have the fuel to keep going. So really gives you a great understanding of all those areas, so that you can find a diet and exercise plan that works for you. So here's my book, my hardcover. It's also available on ebook for Kindle. Um, and Yeah, so that's the basics of really my main way I try to get out to people, is through being an author and writing. I have other projects I'm working on that I'm writing as well, just based on tips that I have for people to gain confidence and to just improve themselves and find what success means to them, as I was discussing before. And you mentioned my live streaming as well, and I realize this is a lot, but like I said,
No,
the
it's all good. It's all good. Don't even worry
okay,
about it.
but yeah, the author, my writing is the main source, and then I also live stream daily. I live stream my morning routine. Basically, what that is, I used to follow a book called The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. Basically, what that is 365 days of quotes from different Stoic philosophers, and then I'll have a passage to follow. So just gives you time to reflect in the morning. So I used to do that and then read my goals to myself. And I decided to, after a year and a half of following that and sort of falling off the wagon, to do something different. So this really shares my morning routine with people. And so I just pick a quote from anywhere, what speaks to me that morning. And a lot of times it falls in line with the day of the week. Monday, people want to get motivated, and by the end of the week, they just want to relax. So we take a little easier and just have casual conversations, and sometimes dive deep into goal setting and confidence and things like that. So it's really just helping people get their day started and starting it off in a positive way. So that's really about me and what I do, and how I try to help people with their self-improvement journeys.
Hey, I love it. You do a lot. And
Thanks.
to touch back on the book, one of the things he brought up about that, about having the 6 different viewpoints, I
Mhm.
think that's even though, I guess you could say it's unorthodox, I think that's a good thing, because not everybody's lifestyle can, or to backtrack, I'll say, not everybody can have the same type of lifestyle, diet, things like that, because everyone has different goals. And so by having the 6 different people that you have on there that talk about the same topic but just from their perspective, it kind of makes it to where someone can find a system or workout plan, diet that works for them, that mostly aligns with their goals, and then go with that, as opposed to trying to do like a one size fits all approach for everybody. So I think that's one of the good things that about your book. And so I think it's pretty interesting that you kind of took that approach to it. And then you
Absolutely.
also mentioned the Daily Stoic. Yeah, that's actually my alarm clock. So I have a Galaxy, and one of the functions on there is that you can put podcasts as like your morning alarm. And so that's actually the one that I listen to in the morning. So
Oh, no way. No way. Yeah, he's
yeah.
definitely gotten out there. He's huge. And if you follow any sort of self-improvement, the Daily Stoic is a great reference. And Ryan Holiday is a great person to study from, learn from, and just has so many good, you know, the reflections that he has and things he shares are just such a great perspective to think on things. And what you were saying about my book, I think it's really important to kind of find something that suits your lifestyle. It's so easy to find one person and grab onto them and think that everything they're saying is the truth. But the truth is that it's all black and white, and what's going to suit your lifestyle isn't going to suit, everybody's. All these experts that I have referenced in the book, they've all helped hundreds and thousands of people each. So obviously their program has worked for some. So there's definitely something to learn from each of them, but you don't need to take everything they say as gospel and kind of maybe you find one or two that really connect with you and your goals that you have currently, and maybe you just grab tips and tricks from each of the others. That's the most value that and people have really given me amazing positive feedback. If you go look it up on Amazon, it's gotten great reviews. And the negative feedback I've gotten is really just that they contradict each other. But that's what we're saying, that's kind of the beauty of it, because there's not a one size fits all. Like you're saying, it's kind of not only for each person, but what your goals are at that point in your life. We should always be our image of success for ourselves is always changing, depending on if we need to improve more on our relationships, or if we need to improve where we're going in our career and things like that. So we always, need to gear towards, what suits our lifestyle at that time. So
Yeah, yeah. And just to make sure, and so I know that you showed it in the video so the audience could see it if they watch the YouTube video. Before the people that are listening, could you say what the title of the book is, just in case I missed you saying it earlier, so that way they can look that up if they like?
yeah, I apologize. I think you're right that people watching saw that, but it's Inspiring Leaders in Health and Fitness, Volume 1. So there,
Okay.
if you are watching the video, I show the hardcover book, and I say volume 1 because I originally wanted to write about 12 people and have it published in a year. So focus on one person every month and then just get the book published. But I really wanted to take the time to get to know their full programs, and each of these people are still doing work, and some of them have written, over a dozen books. And so to study them for 1 month, you really don't get to know the ins and outs and all the tips and tricks that you can take away from them. And, the amazing thing that I've really learned from them, the biggest takeaway is that these people, not only how inspiring they are, but just they're still working to improve as many lives as possible and still creating content. And that's the reason behind what they're doing. It's not like they reach success, and develop a 7-8 figure supplement company and then they just stop because the money's coming in. They're still working hard to just influence as many people as possible. And that's the beautiful thing about people that I've found in the podcast space, and the people that I've been studying.
Hey, that's great, Jake. And
Yeah.
so I know that I guess you could say we know the physical benefits that can come from the stuff that you talk about, of course, but due to the fact that you're like a self-improvement author as well as live streamer, I'm sure that there are also different benefits that come from doing that physical work that can help you mentally, right? Whether
Yeah.
it's different habits that you build,
Mhm.
different type of traits that you can take on from having the discipline to do something like working out on a schedule or having a diet. And so could you kind of hop into that aspect of it?
Sure. Yeah, no, it definitely goes way, way, way beyond just the physical. If you have the dedication to get in there, to get in the gym and improve your health and fitness. And a lot of people when they're younger, like for me when I was in high school, I really just cared about hanging out with my friends and family, and my metabolism was at a place where I really didn't need to worry about it. But then it hit me, and I started really focusing on my health and fitness, and that really got me started down this path. So as you can see, it's developed into so much more, and to now say that I'm a published author in this field, and I'm really working to help people, and just the amazing people I've been able to meet and have contact with, like yourself, and be able to connect. It's really been an amazing journey. So there's so many other things that it helps with. And one book that can really help you get started, it's from somebody that I wrote about in my book. It's called The Little Black Book of Workout Motivation. And it's by Michael Matthews, who's a muscle building coach. But this book goes so much further past just workout motivation. It's really just motivation in general, and helping you with goal setting and kind of pushing your boundaries and challenging yourself. And so when you think about working out, you really need to, there's so many other benefits to it, because it helps you with accountability, making sure that you're staying consistent every day and getting in the gym. And it's, a lot of times people nowadays, especially, just kind of give excuses for themselves, and they just tell themselves, oh, it's okay that I missed this workout. Well, hold yourself accountable. It's not okay. For me, if I plan to work out and then I miss it, I say, man, I can't miss tomorrow, because that it just, it pushes on me. And it's a healthy way to hold yourself accountable and to keep pushing. And you don't realize until you start to try and build muscle and strength how much work really goes into it. And so it plays a lot into just your work ethic in general. So work ethic, holding yourself accountable, and it also builds your confidence, being able to look better, feel better.
Right.
Obviously you can present yourself in such a better fashion than if you didn't go down that path. And so, you just feel more comfortable talking with people, getting to know more people, and just confidence in yourself to, just get better in life. And yeah, so it just plays into everything. So
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. And so I can even, excuse me, a little bit sick, but I can relate from experience seeing how those benefits that you get from being consistent with working out, going to the gym, kind of carry into other aspects of your life. You talked about that accountability that I guess that you hold yourself to, making sure that you set a goal and that you do the work to achieve it. Of course, that carries over into anything else, whether it's your career or side projects that you do, developing the work ethic to do things whenever you don't feel like doing them. And then also that confidence that comes from feeling your best and looking your best carries over into other aspects of your life too. So I can definitely see where you're coming from.
yeah, absolutely. And those are just huge things that help you no matter where you're at in life. And lately confidence has been such a huge topic for me, because I feel like that's the number one reason why people don't uh reach goals that, they know that they're capable of bigger and better things, but what's really stopping them from getting started on improving themselves, or setting those lofty goals for themselves, so they can really start pursuing them. So confidence is just such a huge topic, and this relates to everything else in life too. And a formula that I've created for people is, you have to put in the reps if you want to gain confidence in any area of your life. And if you're, I know you're geared towards young man, so if you're a young man trying to, build the confidence to talk to girls, or just public speaking in general, or really anything in life, you can kind of follow this formula. So like I said, you have to put in the reps. So there's the R.E.P. The
Yeah.
R.
So could you explain that, break that down for us, please? What does the acronym stand for?
Yep. R is reflect. So that's number one thing. I really feel like most people don't take the time to really reflect on where they're at. And
And why do you think
there's
that is?
you know what? Maybe they're just comfortable with where they're at, or they're so distracted by other things in their life that it's just fine for them to just relax, and they just don't take that time and to think about what success means to them, and really think about that and start to pursue goals. Because and um, I Yeah, I just don't think people take the
Mhm.
time to think about it. But if you're listening to this podcast, you listen to other self-improvement podcasts, then you're already, started on that path. You've started to reflect and think about areas that you can improve. So that's great. But it's really important for you to sit down, and there's so many other ways you can do this as well. You can journal to yourself every day. It's a great way to really get your thoughts out on paper and help you build a perspective and, why you feel a certain way on different topics. And so you build, confidence in talking about those things if those topics come up in person as well, and kind of help develop your opinions on things. So it could be, like I said, journaling. It could be talking to somebody, whether that be a family member or a friend or a therapist. And there's nothing wrong if you need help to go see a therapist, or, it's good to just have somebody, an extra person on your team to talk to and help you build that confidence and help you form that perspective. So,
Yeah,
so
or
that,
to add right there, I guess before you move to the next one, I
yep.
think one thing that could also kind of contribute to people not being prone to reflecting is the fact that just, the majority of people don't really live intentionally. One thing I'll say from my experience, and you can probably relate, is when you have set defined goals or things that you're shooting for, if you have a set path that you're trying to go down, it's a lot easier to reflect because you actually have something to kind of compare your progress to, if that makes sense. If you, let's say, I'm trying to drive from point A to point B. Obviously, if I'm not getting anywhere closer to point A, if I'm going towards point C, you have to reflect, and you have no choice but to kind of self-examine and see what the issue is to be able to get to what that goal is. But when you're kind of living in autopilot mode, I guess you can say, or just just like just a boat in the middle of the water with no direction, it's really hard to kind of reflect because you have no, I wouldn't say no incentive, but nothing to push it, nothing
Yeah,
to I guess to spark it, if that makes sense.
absolutely. So, yeah, I would say, the biggest thing I can say is just to start somewhere, do that initial reflection. If you realize that health and fitness is the biggest thing you need to improve on, if an ideal body is something that's important for you to, feel successful, then, and to me, success is just feeling fulfilled in all areas of life. So if having an ideal body is part of that, then just start working on that. Find something that works for you, and then you can start measuring your progress, and that's where the reflection comes in. But you have to start somewhere, and it doesn't have to be health and fitness. It could be your relationships, it could be your career, really anywhere. But and you may be like blindly in when I was in school, I obviously, I took it seriously. I was making sure that I was working towards a career path that I would feel I had purpose in and that I enjoyed. And, I wanted to get the best grades. So I had the best opportunities in those fields, but I didn't really have an eye on or the mindset that it was really a self-improvement thing, that I was always improving. I was just working, doing my best. But this whole mindset really definitely does, it helps with that, and being able to measure progress and being able to reflect for sure. So
Yeah, that's great, man. I agree. I kind of had a similar situation going into school, and had to really buckle down and see what my goals were, what I needed to do to reach them, and how my academics needed to align with that. And so I can definitely see where you're coming from. And that kind of covers, I guess, the first part in the acronym for REP. So that's the R. What's the
yep.
E?
Yep. E is educate. So just educate yourself, read books, listen to podcasts. Really, podcasts are such an amazing thing now, because it's not like, how many books have you read where you don't know the author behind the book? Podcasts really allow you to get to know the person and see that transparency, that they're really just trying to help you. And you can really connect with the personality and the person, and
Mhm.
they have just great, you can really get to know their background, where they came from. And so you really take those tips and tricks and see the value in them. So no matter what area that you're trying to get better at, you can look up a podcast in that category. But you can really, whatever works for you. If reading is better for you, then get to read books. But like I said, and that's something that, it's really helped develop for me, is I now get to know the authors behind the books, and, get to appreciate that and their backgrounds, where they came from. And it gives you a whole different perspective. And it's something you can see in movies. If you know someone who did writing for a movie, even if it's a comedy movie, and oh, this was, this has this person in it, or it was written by this person, you kind of get that feel, you get the vibes that person usually has, and you're like, oh, they probably wrote that line, and I love her, their humor. And so you relate to it more. And it's the same thing with books. If you get to know the person and see that their incentive is really just to help you, it's just such a great way so that's really the E part, is just educating yourself so you can build confidence. And that really plays into I'm sure you've heard, the knowledge is power. And a better way to think about that too is really knowledge is potential. You can't really do anything if you just have the knowledge, but you have the potential to access that other level because you have that knowledge.
Okay, so for the education part, building the knowledge base is what gives you the potential for competency, which would come from the next one, right? Which is the
Right.
practice. I think practice is the
Yep.
P one, right?
Right. And you can reflect and you can educate yourself as much as you want, but practice is really where you're going to build that confidence in yourself. So,
Right.
you've built that knowledge base, you've reflected on yourself and found where you need to use improvement, and now you're putting that into practice. If you want to be a better speaker, the best thing you can do is to go speak. You're not going to get better if you just simply read a book on it and how to be a better speaker. You really need to perform, and that's where you're just going to get better and better. So again, if you're trying to get better at talking to girls as a young man, you need to just get out there and just form conversations. Even if it's not a girl you're physically attracted in, just talk to them and get to know them and have conversations. And that's really how relationships develop. And obviously you just get better and more comfortable with talking to people in general. And so yeah, it's important. And so really putting that practice in, no matter what you want to gain confidence in. And this really helps, no matter, even if you feel like a confident person in
Right.
general, this really helps you with no matter what venture you want to go into. You really need to put those reps in to get to that level so that you can reach that goal that you want to achieve.
Yeah. To touch on this, I think one thing that a lot of guys probably fall into is like that rabbit hole of personal development or self-improvement, where you're taking in all the content, you're reading all the books, listening to all the podcasts, but at the end of the day, a lot of guys may not actually be going out and applying the stuff. And so
Right.
then, just to use the example that you brought up, like let's say somebody wanted to build that confidence that we're talking about through rep, to go talk to women, to go meet a future partner. A lot of guys, might watch a lot of dating content on YouTube. There's plenty of that, and like I
Mhm.
guess you could say the manosphere that like gives advice for those sort of things. But one thing that you'll notice is that probably the majority don't actually go out and apply the stuff. And I guess the perception of it could be that it might be kind of weird to practice some things, because of course, if someone's trying to like build confidence playing the piano, nothing's weird about practicing playing the piano. If you want to be a good accountant, then you would practice accounting. But I guess you could say that it's kind of looked at in a completely different way, at least for a lot of people. Like, let's say, for that same example, if you wanted to work on approaching women or something like that, to actually go out and practice that. Of course, some guys do it, but the vast majority, they probably can't even walk up and approach one, just because of the lack of confidence, or like that, I guess,
Yeah.
that fear in the back of their mind of what would happen if they got rejected. And so, yeah, talk about that a little bit. Like, what are some tips that you would give them to do something like that that might be outside their norm, I guess you can say, to get into, I guess, enough of a comfort zone, or I guess, to phrase it better, to jump out of their comfort zone to do something like that. By that same, I guess, example, if they wanted to go talk to women, if you wanted to practice that to get better.
Yeah. And this is kind of it. There's no simple answer to this. It really just jumps back to you just need to get started somewhere. You need to realize, be honest with yourself and say, I'm not good at this, so I'm going to make a conscious effort to get better. And so I need to practice this, and I need to reach out. And it shouldn't be tough. Like I said, it doesn't have to be somebody that you want to for them to be your girlfriend, potentially just somebody to talk to form conversations with. And the more you do that, the more confident you're going to be. And so really just get started. And in the most important thing, you need to reflect with yourself, be honest, and then you can start looking towards, books, podcasts, YouTube videos, things that help you, and then put it into practice. You really just
Hmm.
need to start somewhere, or otherwise you're going to get stuck in that rabbit hole. And and it's important that you need to act on. If you're missing that practice part, then you're really not going to develop those skills that you want to develop.
Yeah. And I think honestly, it comes from having a strong enough why, because, with anything that you decide to, get to the point of practicing, to do that deliberate action, to be consistent, have the work ethic and hold yourself accountable to that, like what we were talking about, you have to have a strong reason to do it. And so I guess it just comes from doing that first part, which is the reflection and seeing why this is something that you would want to put in work towards in the first place. And one thing I think we could also touch on is how confidence in one area can carry over into different aspects of your life. Like, you can think about it like this. Let's say a guy is really good at basketball. He's like, all American, something like that. He's going D1 and to go play for, a major university like Texas Tech or Baylor or somebody like that, somebody really good at basketball. I'm sure that confidence that he has as a D1 basketball player can probably carry over into other aspects of his life. And so even though he may not, even though that, I guess that proficiency may not be, how do I put it, I guess, shown in different areas, he still might walk into that with that same confidence because he has like that strong sense of self from his proficiency that he's shown in something else. Would you agree with that? That it can
Yeah,
kind of work that way too?
absolutely. I mean, even if you're an introvert, you hang out, you really mainly, you're with yourself, you still have skills that you can develop and gain confidence in. If it's an instrument, if it's, you know, uh, anything really, you can gain confidence in yourself, and that really helps with all areas of your life. If you're truly passionate about something and show purpose in something, then you're really gonna give out that confidence, and people like that transparency and just being who you are. And a lot of people, I hear a lot of people say that they struggle with finding purpose or finding themselves. And there's really no trick to that other than you need to find what makes you happy, what your lifestyle is, and what goals you want to pursue. And it's not to you shouldn't be following somebody else's path or comparing yourself to other people, but just focus on yourself and where you can build confidence and what can make you better. I'm an introvert, for example. I really hung out to myself, and just by doing podcasts and talking to people, and I just get better and better. And it's good to form these relationships, and I see there's so much value in it. And so it's great to form those relationships, and it builds confidence just in speaking in general, and it's just a great thing. So really, like you're saying, it really does protrude in other ways as well. So confidence is just such a great topic to try and help, because a lot of people, like I said, I think that's the number one reason people really won't go after a goal. There are other reasons, like we talked about how there's that fear of the unknown. They don't know uh, if they invest money and time into something, if it's really going to be worth it. But in the end, if it's a goal that means something to you, then you're going to build that confidence. And like you're saying, it helps in other areas. And if you fail, you learn the value in that, and you at least gain skills along the way that help you develop.
Right.
And yeah, and another thing we can talk about too is with work ethic. A lot of people in schools kind of have that mindset that school is worthless. I'm never going to use this math. I'm never going to use these tools, and tests aren't really the best thing for me. I think so many people have that mindset, and they're really thinking too deep and want to give excuses on why to do bad in school. I think you need to set the mindset of it's really just helping you build that work ethic, no matter what area of life you want to go into. These are people who really just want to help you and help you get further, and help you and obviously you get better grades so that you have those more opportunities, more
Or,
doors open to
or
you.
I guess to add to this, or before we hop into the school thing,
Sure.
something else that I wanted to touch on, and we kind of answer like a previous question. Since we're kind of moving into a different topic, I just want to make sure that we add this to the previous discussion, so that way, before I forget anyway. But we had talked about demonstrating proficiency in other areas, and that can kind of carry over. And I think that kind of answers that other question that we brought up about if you're having trouble implementing that whole rep process in one area where you might be struggling. I guess using piggybacking off that confidence from one area or developing proficiency in one area where you're already somewhat more comfortable can be a way to start to eventually get that confidence to do it in the next area. So I just wanted to add that. And then you talked about school too, and also using, different things where you may not enjoy to develop yourself in other ways. Yeah. Yeah. Please keep talking about that, because I agree. I think that there's some value that we can find in any type of experiences that we're going through, whether it's, you don't think school is going to apply to whatever it is that you do or not. There's some value in anything that takes deliberate effort like school, because of the work ethic that helps you build in the discipline. But yeah, please continue on that.
Yeah, and that's really the important thing there. And it may not seem important to you now, but down the line, obviously, opportunities are important no matter what they are. And a lot of people, look towards successful people. And again, this goes back to really finding what success means to you. And I think, this kind of goes back to that first thing you were talking about, in finding all the areas of your life, your relationships, your health and fitness, your education, your career, your lifestyle. Those are really the 5 categories that you have in your life, and finding your own balance. It's not like you need to be at the top of your game in all of those things, but find what's most important to you and what's most important to improve on, and use that as your starting point. Just start working in a direction, and you'll get those positive benefits from it. So but yeah, there's and to go back to school, and this is definitely a different topic, so we're jumping back and forth here. But no, it definitely is important, and the biggest thing is really just finding that work ethic in yourself, and like you're saying, discipline. It just teaches you so many different lessons, and no matter what class it is, if you really just take the time and put in the work, and understand the value in, you're not always going to be comfortable. It can be tough to learn things, and different people learn at different levels. And some people take a lot more time to really understand a lesson. And that's okay. That's how it is for everybody. Certain people are great in a certain, subject, and some people are horrible in that subject. And it's really just making sure you're working on yourself and developing those skills. And that's where the discipline and the work ethic really get developed. And there's so much more to it, really getting to know each teacher and what they're looking for. If you're going into, and this also relates really to anything, is visualization. You're going into a test. The best way that you can study for a test, and there's really no way to do this unless you can hang out at your middle school or high school after hours, but sitting in that classroom and studying in that classroom really helps to get ready for the test. You can visualize yourself taking the test, and you can also visualize by thinking about, okay, how has this teacher tested me before, and what tips and tricks can they throw at me? Have they combined problems and I didn't see that coming before? How can I combine multiple problems? And really, so you visualize the path. And like I said, this really relates to so many different things. So right now I'm studying David Goggins, who's a motivational speaker.
Oh,
And he
really?
was, yeah,
Yeah, I actually just finished his book yesterday on Audible,
really,
and so
really.
I've been listening to it for the past few weeks in the car, and
Yep.
it was pretty interesting to me, and so it was definitely inspiring, motivating me to want to take on some of the new challenges that I've been thinking about for the longest, but never did, to kind of face my shadow, like how he talks about. But yeah,
Mhm.
continue on that. Like, what did
Yeah.
you get from it?
There's so many tips and tricks in there, but the main things are really holding yourself accountable. As we were talking about, a lot of the things that come up in my mind about holding yourself accountable really derive from what I've learned from him. People who don't know David Goggins, he's a wonderful motivational speaker now, but he was a Navy SEAL, and he really had a troubled childhood growing up. He was abused growing up. So you read his book, you get to hear all about that, as well as how he took his tough circumstances and ended up just achieving amazing things for himself and putting that past behind him. So he became a Navy SEAL, and he talks about how some people, their grandfathers were Navy SEALs, so they reached that, and that's kind of their pinnacle, that's their peak, and that just wasn't it for him. So he decided to then take on, and this is actually while he was a Navy SEAL, he started doing ultra marathon races, which are 100+ mile continuous races. This isn't like split between days, this is like 100-mile races at a time plus. And he's done 60+ ultra marathon races now. And so he's just such an inspiring person and always pushing towards that next level. He also has a broke the Guinness World Records for amount of push-ups, amount of pull-ups in a 24-hour period. So it's something just absolutely outrageous. So he was able to break that. So just the amount of things he was able to accomplish, and how
Amazing
he
story.
relates how he relates to what we're talking about today is he really talks about visualization as well. So I wanted to relate about how he talks about when he would get ready for one of those ultra marathon races. The best way he can prepare is, driving through where the race is going to be beforehand and seeing what the hills are like, what he can use as landmarks, where to set up his water stations, and his cool down areas and things like that. And so he can prepare himself best, just like we can prepare ourselves best for a test in the classroom, and visualizing yourself and what's going to be on the test. And it's the same thing for just being successful in general, being able to visualize where you want to be and how you see yourself, and then working towards that. So
Yeah, tying into the theme of the episode, I think that was a perfect example to bring up, because when it comes to taking accountability, that's essentially what almost the whole book is about. Just
mhm.
taking responsibility for your life and not looking at yourself as a victim in any aspect, because if anything, he was the ultimate victim, I guess you can say, had disadvantages in every single way possible, from education to financial background, all of that. Yet work ethic, the same thing that we were talking about alone, was the one thing that he used to be able to create a much better life for himself. And so I think that was the perfect example to bring up in this, because just if anyone looks at his story, reads the book, I recommend listening to it on Audible, because it's kind of like a mix between a podcast and the book reading, because they have little segments where he kind of talks to the guy that's narrating the book.
Mm.
But I think for anyone that's having trouble with holding themselves accountable for their life, or developing strong work ethic, or having a positive mindset through adversity, I think that's probably the first book that you should check out and read.
Yeah. And that's actually why I'm studying him so much right now. Is my next book is going to be Inspiring Leaders in Motivation and Success, is kind of the working title. So I'll be focusing on individuals in motivation and success space, and sharing with people the tips and tricks that they have on, gaining that confidence and holding yourself accountable and things like that. With David Goggins is kind of my, that's my plan for my next book. So I can kind of develop volume 1 for this next book, and then I'll move back to volume 2 for health and fitness, kind of keeping things fresh for myself, but also covering all areas of self-improvement in general. And relationships and other things kind of come in on the side as well. And a lot of times the best advice I can give is refer people depending on what their goals are. And a lot of times, I recommend people get a physical trainer or follow somebody who matches the goals that they line up with. And that's really just getting to know all the great resources out there. There's so many amazing people out there to give just value to people. And to cycle back to what we were talking about with accountability, and you're not really thinking about this when you're younger. When you're younger in high school, you're really just looking towards people who can be mentors to you. And obviously there's great value in having somebody to look up to, and finding podcasts to listen to. You can find people that you look up to that you don't even personally know, and that's a great aspect to it as well. But
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
end, and learning through what David Goggins has to share, nobody's gonna really pull you up and get you to work consistently and to build your confidence as you will. You need to hold yourself accountable, and you need to start working on these things. So you can listen to this podcast, and the best thing I can do is be that catalyst for you to start. And same thing with any resource that you read, and then you just get started moving down that path and improving yourself, and that's what it's all about. It all comes down to you in the end.
Yeah, I agree. You can listen to as many podcasts as you want, like we talked about, but if you don't apply anything, it won't do much for you other than just, I guess you can share it with other people. That's the main thing. But we had talked about success physically. We had talked about doing the stuff to develop yourself mentally for success. But let's talk about something else I know a lot of guys in this age range are kind of struggling with, and that's career success. And so I had a previous guest that had kind of talked about the back end of it, like when you're already in the job. But I think something that we missed is the front end, which is, for one, preparing for the job, two, applying, and then three, actually getting the job and what to do from there, especially for the guys that are college age right now. And I know myself personally, I definitely could have used some help when it came to career planning, especially like my freshman, sophomore year. Luckily, I got a hang on it going into my junior year and kind of had a plan and knew what to do. But I think that we could offer a lot of value in this episode by talking to these guys about how they can be intentional and how they can plan for their future when it comes to their career. So that way, whenever it gets to the end, whenever they're graduating, they're not kind of left out to dry. I know this is a special circumstance with COVID happening and everything within the past year, but it's not as if it's new, even though it's more prevalent now, of course, with just jobs not being available. It's nothing new for people to graduate and to spend all 4 years not being intentional about finding a career to see themselves with a degree and without a job. So yeah, please talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. And what you're saying right there, it's huge for people to know, a degree doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to go somewhere with it. So many people just push through college and, get C's consistently to just get that degree, and then don't realize the amount of work they need to put in to really get the job. And that the fact that you need to apply to, I applied to 100+ places to find,
Jesus Christ.
And that was to find my first internship. And then once
for an internship,
once you
100
get
plus places.
I'm not lying. I'm not
Wow.
lying. Yeah. And
that's unbelievable.
And opportunities are all out there. So I'll tell you about that opportunity a little bit. Was I work in the construction industry. So I was able to, I live in New York, and that was the furthest west that I have ever been before that. I'm an East Coast man. And what they did is they told me that they would pay for my housing. They would give me a truck. They would give me a phone. They'd pay for my trip out there. And I'd spend 6 months out in North Dakota doing construction management type stuff and materials testing. But I won't go too far into that. But just, you put yourself out there, opportunities will come for you. But the amount of work that you need to put in to get those opportunities, it takes time. It's not easy. And it can be even tougher if you don't get internships. If you're looking for a full-time job, it's easier for them to find, like you're saying, just for an internship. Yeah, that's how much dedication you need. And if I didn't have those internships before going out and finding a real job, I wouldn't have that experience to cover. I would just have a degree, and that doesn't, measure minutely to what experience can do. So, and one way, a best way to get your foot in the door if you're not able to get internships, say you want to go into sports management, or you want to be a teacher. Well, obviously you need to, want to influence people. So if you start a podcast like yourself, what you're doing, and, you get to talk to people, interview people, that really is a great thing to add to the resume, and something that, potential people hiring you could look at and see the dedication, the that you have the purpose, the passion behind doing what you're doing, and you're going to take that into your career path. So biggest thing that I have to say, if you're going into an interview, is, show that you really do want to work there, that you're passionate about, about that work, and that you're going to put your best foot forward. And no matter what job it is, there's a learning. You need to spend some time learning about what it is you're going to be doing. And even if you've worked in the same field, you need to, every company is different. So
Or I'd like to step in right here, actually, because it brings
Sure.
up another question. So kind of the frame of mind that we're talking about right now is, I guess we're under the pretense that the person knows what they want to do, and it's just a matter of getting the experience. But I think one thing that'd be really important to talk about is those guys that go through school and they have the idea of, okay, I need to get a degree to do something, but they don't exactly know what that something is that they're going to do, and they never figure that out for those 4 years. As a result, they don't really get the internship experience, or they might not get it as something that they're actually going to be doing after school, and it kind of leaves them at a point to where they really have no idea of like what direction to go in. And so I guess to backtrack a little bit, I would ask, what are some tips of advice that you give for that person to I guess find a direction to put their efforts in to get that internship? How would you help them
Absolutely.
to figure out what direction they want to move into? What are some tips I guess you could say that you would give?
Yeah, yeah. So, and thank you for bringing this back, because this is really, the big part of it and what I want
Huge
to.
part, huge part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so when I got into college, I went in for computer science, and it took me a year of being in that program to realize it's not for me. I need to. So I, had to find a different program. I didn't want to just sit at a desk and work at a desk. I wanted the flexibility to work outside, to work with people. And then if I wanted to work at a desk and do design work as an engineer, I can do that as well. So being in civil engineering is the program I'm in. It gives you that flexibility. You can graduate and become a construction manager working in the field. You could be a designer with a desk job, and you could work with general contractors, which is always working with people, and it's more high stress, but you can make more money that way because it's more high demand. So having that flexibility, finding a career path that suits your personality, you can find something that you're passionate about. It's not easy, and it's going to hit somebody at a different point. And I know a lot of things right now, and we can connect this to you know content creation is huge right now. And if you're younger and you watch Twitch gamers and things like that, or you're a musician or an artist, you know uh, the best thing that I can say, and this is the same thing with careers, is make sure you're willing to put in 10 to 15 years if you want to take something seriously and want to pursue something as something you're passionate about and have purpose in. Make sure that you're truly committed to it. Like, I wouldn't start this author thing and be down this path of self-improvement if I didn't see it as a very, very long-term thing that, I want to make that impact, and I want to help people on their journeys. And I'm never going to get sick of researching people in this space. So it's going to be something I can commit to long term. Well, it's the same if you want to be a musician, you want to be an artist. Make sure it's something you can commit to for 10, 15 years down the line, and take it seriously. Find what suits your lifestyle. And for me with construction, it was kind of okay. I've always admired, driving past construction jobs. There's a lot of cool jobs out there that would be, really amazing to say that I was a part of, and having the flexibility of working with people and working outside. And, I can really kind of find what works best for me by, I've had a job in general contracting and construction management and civil engineering, doing design work. So being able to have that perspective and then really figure out what's best for me, it's really been a great field for me to do that. And so finding an opportunity like that, a field that suits your lifestyle, is absolutely the most important thing. And so there are
Right.
tests you can take, but I think it really just hits people at a different point in their life, and they really need to, until you get that experience, you don't know what it's going to be like and how it can suit your lifestyle. And the biggest things when you get into a job is, having that commitment, knowing that you're really committed to what you're doing, and having that passion, that purpose behind it. It all ties in, and really is what's going to give you success in your career.
Okay, so it sounds like, I guess the answer that you would give to the question of figuring out what you want to do is just being intentional about giving yourself the experiences, or the knowledge of different opportunities to be able to find it, if that makes sense. So what you're saying is, like, whenever you were in school, you realized from being in computer science, you didn't want to do computer science. So you had to kind of do your own exploring, whether it was talking to other people, trying new things, even maybe taking like some online quizzes or something like that for like personality traits and such, to figure out what it is that aligned with what you wanted to do and what you wanted to check out. And it just so happened that you did that in school, so you could still find a way to move towards a degree that would help you go down that path. And so I
Yeah.
guess the advice that we give to guys is whenever you're in your freshman, sophomore year, you have to make sure you're intentional about giving yourself enough exposure to different things to get to the points where you can figure out what you can get a degree in, and I guess manage to be able to tolerate for a job or be able to apply for it down the road, as opposed to going into something and then figuring out after 4 years of school, I don't want to do this. And now since I don't want to do it, oh, it turns out I can't really do anything else with this degree other than that, but I know I don't want to. And that seems to be the
Yeah.
case for a lot.
Yeah, and no, I know my answer was long. There's so much in that, but my main points of advice would be find something that suits your lifestyle and something you can be committed to for 10, 15 years down the line. So it's something that is truly will challenge you, and you can work with purpose, and that you truly are committed. And yeah, those are really my main takeaways from finding a career path that's best for you.
Okay. And I guess my last question would be, what are some tips that you give people when it comes to applying for jobs? Because I guess it got to the point to where you got pretty used to doing that, pretty efficient with that. When it came to applying to like 100 different places, you must have had a system down and had it figured out. And so what are some pieces of advice you'd give to guys that are in school or out of school that might be applying for internships or jobs? What are some things you would tell them to pay attention to give themselves the best chance being a young guy and preparing to be entry level for a position, competing for it?
Sure. Yeah, the best thing you can do, obviously, you want the best developed resume that you can get. So if there's somebody, at any college, there's going to be, people who are going to help you with your resume. There's always classes that are, career based, that, the teacher makes sure that if you need help, you connect with them on your resume. So make sure you have your resume down pat. And then for me, during the process of applying, make sure that you're flexible. So I would look at all the websites, USA Jobs, Indeed.com, and then my school had their own system that we could apply, that was connected through the school. So take advantage of all these opportunities. And I also would find people I'd find companies that I really liked and reach out to them on LinkedIn, and message them personally and say, man, I'm really interested in this company. Do you have any opens for internships, things like that? Be willing to be flexible, put yourself out there, know the value in yourself, and that you're willing to put the work in. And for me, when I was finding that first internship, I didn't care if it was with a general contractor, a design engineer, or construction manager. I simply wanted to get the experience, and I knew, no matter what, it would be valuable experience related to my field. And so, be flexible and just put yourself out there in as many ways as you can, and show that you're committed. If they reach out to you, just be ready for it, be ready for that interview, and be ready to have that conversation, and show that you're committed to it and something that you're interested in. I had to be prepared for, if a construction manager, general contractor, engineer reached back out to me, that I could express my interest in that side of things. And
Okay.
so yeah, really put yourself out there. And that's really, like I said, applying to 100 plus places, you have to be flexible and think outside the box.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what are some things do you think that businesses would be looking for on that resume, to give people some tips that may not know exactly what they should get involved in or what to do when they're preparing it? What are some of those things that will stand out and help them to be more competitive for these roles? Because obviously stuff is competitive if you're having to apply, to 100 different companies for jobs and such.
Yeah. The best thing is, whatever's going to display your work ethic the best. In going into my first internship, I didn't have any, construction experience. I could list out some of the classes that I took that really, that I found most value in, that would then bring value to the company that I'm working with, and show, that I have that knowledge base. But then also it's important to, give your hobbies and anything you're doing that's related to it. Like I said, if you have a podcast that you're doing, or a club that you're involved in outside that's related to the field you're going into, or even just, if you're an Eagle Scout, that just displays your work ethic. So you absolutely want to put those things on a resume.
So work ethic,
Anything, yeah,
leadership type stuff.
anything that can help show that you have that, and that you're, just committed. That's really, what I would say. And like I said, there's always going to be people, in your high school, your guidance counselor, things like that, that will help you with your resume. Don't be shy about it. It's super important. So find people who will help you with that resume. And I've had people reach out to me. So if there's anything that I can help with, you can always, I'll give you my resources, how you can find me. And if you want to reach out to me directly, I'm 100% fine with that.
All right. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. And so I guess before we close everything out, is there anything else that you like to tell the audience?
Sure, sure. I think really the key that I want to cycle back to, and just to make it simple for how somebody can really start achieving goals for themselves, is just start somewhere, and hold yourself accountable. And nobody's going to push you through it but yourself. So pick yourself up, figure out what area of your life you want to improve most, and just start headed down that path. And you'd be surprised at the opportunities that come from that, and the skills you develop, and it just open doors to more opportunities for you. So just get started is really what I want people to take away.
All
So
right. All right. Yeah, that works. And
yeah,
is where would you like for them to find you? Do you have like Instagram, Twitter,
yep,
website? Like, could
yep.
you share the information with them too?
Yeah, yeah, and I'll share a link with you as well. That's kind of, I don't know if you know what a link tree is, but essentially it's one link that then branches. It'll share my Facebook, the link to my book on Amazon, and it'll share my websites. I have a book series website, inspiringleaderscollective.com, and then I have my personal blog. So this is just a tree of, all the links that I have, all my socials, and where people can reach me. But a great starting point, I share most of my stuff right on Facebook. So if you go on Facebook and search at Inspiring Leaders Collective, you can find me there and follow me. You can go to inspiringleaderscollective.com, and that's my main website. And as we talked about, if having an ideal body is something that's important to you, and you're interested in reading my book, that's a great way to start to get to know me, the work that I do. So really, between Facebook and my book, you could just search Inspiring Leaders in Health and Fitness on Amazon, and you'll find this book. And you can get it on ebook, or you can get the hardcover, whichever you prefer. And so yeah, those are really the best ways that you can find me. I share my personal email on my website as well. It's just jake@inspiringleaderscollective.com. So if people want to reach me personally and contact me, there's so many ways that they can approach. If they want to join my live streams on Facebook, or read my book, or contact me directly if they have questions, those are all great ways that you can
Yeah.
connect.
Okay, great. And I'll make sure to put the link tree in the description so they can find all of your information.
Okay.
Well,
I'll,
yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Well, thanks for coming on to the show. I think we offered a lot of value today, and a good base for a lot of people to move off of when it comes to, one, starting their building of confidence and personal development with the physical, because it can carry over into the mental. Two, we talked about the process that we should go through with being intentional for building confidence, the R.E.P program that you talked about. And then we also gave some decent advice for career too, for those guys that are around that young age, that college age, that might need some direction to figure out what exactly it is that they're going to do whenever they finish their 4-year degree. And so, hey, thanks for coming on to the show. I appreciate it, man. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, we definitely covered a lot here. So I hope, anybody that listens to this, as long as they have one or two takeaways and got some value from it, that's what it's all about. So thank you for having me, Kamani. I really, it was awesome to get to know you, get to talk with you, and keep doing amazing things with Himprovement. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, likewise, man. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you. You too.